We now have a poll showing Trump up 15 among independent likely voters, which is what we are supposed to be paying attention to. This is a CBS News poll released on Sunday, 4,000 plus U.S. adults, which is a pretty decent size sample. And then you've got similar results from a Harris X poll last week. Independents backing Trump over Biden more narrowly there, 38 to 36, 25% saying they're undecided, but 15 points up is huge. This is the New York Times, David, has another piece out today entitled Top Democrats' Bullishness on Biden 2024 Collides with Voters' Worries. And they reference James Carville saying Biden's got a problem. The voters don't want this. And that's in poll after poll after poll. You can't look at what you look at and not feel some apprehension here. And they cite Democratic voters like James Collier saying he would like Mr. Biden to clear the way for a new generation that could energize the party's base, saying he's a little, not a little, he's a lot old. And I'm hoping he would in his own mind think, I need to sit this out and let someone else do this. This is on top of what we discussed on Friday. CNN doing a fact check, an in-depth fact check on all of his lies. We've seen other pieces now. We saw David Ignatius at the Washington Post saying neither he nor Harris should run. So there seems to be some momentum building behind the get him out of here. Do you think there's any hope of that?
I think Democrats are doing a gut check right now on whether he's really their candidate. I mean, I think he does have huge liabilities. It's really unclear that he can make it all the way through a vigorous campaign. I mean, clearly, they're not going to run the type of campaign where he does a lot of media appearances or campaign appearances. I guess the question is whether they can do a Rose Garden campaign where it's basically the basement strategy all over again, except they trot him out to the microphones, call it once a week to denounce Trump. I think, again, they're doing this gut check because Biden is weak. And I think that for Biden to win, he's got to fade a few pretty big risks over the next year. I think one of them is an economic recession. There's still a significant chance that we won't have a soft landing. The second one is the Ukraine war is going very badly. The counteroffensive has failed. The losses are catastrophic. I think there's a significant chance that this war goes south in a big way over the next year. And then, of course, you've got all the corruption scandal. If anything more comes out there, it could be very damaging. So I think there are a lot of risks to a Biden candidacy. But at the end of the day, I think that Democrats will probably just unite around him because there's not a clear alternative. And it's a funny thing. I mean, the vast majority of the American electorate say they don't want a Biden-Trump rematch, and yet it's probably what we're going to get. It's unthinkable and yet somehow inevitable at the same time.
Mm-hmm. The line of there's no evidence there's no evidence has clearly gone out to the mainstream media, which marches according to orders. I mean, it's crazy how they just are so lazy. I realize it gets, trust me, my eyes glaze over when I'm neck deep in Victor Shokin, the prosecutor, and what date the investigation into Burisma and the head of it started and who weighed in and what did the European Union say. But I do it. I do it for my audience because I'm in news and this is the business we've chosen. Different story over on ABC where on Sunday, Jonathan Karl hosted Representative Nancy Mace, who was there happy to educate the guy if only he would listen. Watch this.
Was this premature, going all the way with an impeachment inquiry?
I don't believe so. The facts are everywhere. There are text messages, there are emails, there are witnesses, there are whistleblowers, there are meetings, there are phone calls, there are dinners. We're talking about a significant sum of money. We are talking about bribery. And in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 4, that is the basis for impeachment.
There's no evidence connected.
It was the fourth estate. It was the media and journalists when Nixon was going down that helped do that investigation, helped bring down the president when he broke the law. And, you guys want to deny that there's evidence. It's everywhere. And the bank records will prove it out.
All right, we will see. I haven't seen much yet.
Haven't seen much yet, and absolutely no interest in actually taking a look because they're all against this impeachment. They're writing about how wrong it is and how there's no evidence.
Yeah, I mean, they keep redefining what no evidence means. I mean, remember that Biden himself first said that he had no involvement and no knowledge of Hunter Biden's business dealings. Then we find out from Devin Archer's testimony, sworn testimony, that Biden was the brand. I mean, he called in to 20 of these client meetings to let them know that Hunter had access. We also know that back in 2014, when he was vice president, Biden approved this Maidan coup or revolution, however you want to frame it, that deposed the democratically elected government of Ukraine. That's what started all of our problems there. Mm-hmm. And 3 months after he did that, Hunter Biden was added to the board of Burisma. I mean, that is a pretty outrageous conflict of interest. And if you go back, I've looked at this going back to 2008. When Obama added Biden to the ticket in 2008, there were questions even back then about the connection between Joe and Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden had worked for credit card companies as a consultant when Joe was the floor manager in the Senate of credit card legislation. And, these concerns were sort of brushed off back then. But if you're Joe Biden, you're vice president, and you're in charge of the Ukraine portfolio for the Obama administration, and you've already been questioned about the conflicts of interest with Hunter, why in the world would you allow Hunter to take that board seat on Burisma? In other words, Joe didn't discourage his son from avoiding the conflict of interest. The Biden family ran towards that conflict of interest. And then you have the admission around Shokin, which is that Biden used his leverage to get the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma fired. Now, what was Biden's basis for that? He says that he did that because this prosecutor was corrupt. But the only thing that changed when Shokin was fired is that the investigation into Burisma stopped. So the whole thing seems very shady to me. There's a ton of smoke here. And I think it is the kind of thing that should be looked into, preferably by the media, but the media is not really doing it. So the Republicans are doing it.
Millions of Americans earn and use credit card rewards. A few big box retailers want to take those rewards away. That's according to the Electronics Payments Coalition, a sponsor of today's episode. Rewards you may use on groceries and school supplies, cash back to save on gas and grow small businesses, and travel miles to make memories. The so-called Credit Card Competition Act would eliminate credit card rewards. No more travel miles and no more cash back. Visit handsoffmyrewards.com to learn more. And if you would like to help them, tell your legislator to stand up to the retail giants and to support consumers and small businesses. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.